And welcome to day 18 here, 24 days, building more muscle with calisthenics training, 2 tips in every video. I'm Matt Schifferly. In today's video, we're addressing 2 common kind of out of alignment attitudes and mindsets that are very prevalent in our fitness culture that really make it a lot harder to get the results you want in developing your physique. And the first of these attitudes is the so-called perceived desire or need to follow a restrictive diet. Because the underlying theme with almost all dietary approaches in our fitness culture is based on restriction and deprivation, controlling and limiting how much you're eating, what you're eating, and when you're eating. We got fasting, we got paleo, we got keto, we've got carnivore, we've got vegan and vegetarianism and low fat and all these other sorts of things. And it's so prevalent that it almost feels like it's necessary, that you're not going to be healthy if you don't have such a restriction. Now, of course, this advice doesn't go along with people who need a restriction for medical reasons, or even if people want to have a restriction for ethical reasons, personal reasons, religious reasons, and so on. I don't want to tell anybody how to eat because that's not my business. But if your objective is to be as healthy as possible and to stand the best chance of building muscle, any type of dietary approach that's based on restriction is just simply going to make it harder to do so. And the reason is because your diet isn't healthy because of what you don't eat. You're not going to be healthy if you just don't eat bread or red meat or avoid sugar or something. No, that's not how nutrition works. Instead, your diet is healthy based on how well you can satisfy your 4 fundamental appetites: your hunger, your nutritional support, your metabolic support, and yes, even your hedonic support, the enjoyment and pleasures you're getting from food. And anything that is making it harder to achieve those 4 and satisfy those 4 appetites is not only just going to make it harder to be healthier, but it's also going to make it harder to recover from your workouts, harder to fuel your workouts, and harder to just support the building of the muscle that you're trying to achieve. And the second attitude that really shortchanges a lot of people's efforts to build up their physique is this notion that building muscle should be easier and faster than it usually is. We have this expectation out there that building up muscle should be kind of somewhat aligned and kin with building or losing body fat. That it should be just as easy or as fast to build 5 pounds of muscle as it would be for 5 pounds of fat. Same in the opposite direction. But the fact of the matter is that building muscle is a hell of a lot slower and more difficult than putting on body fat, especially for a lot of quote hard gainers. But you get that a lot. People are like, I'm a hard gainer, how should I work out? 99.9% of the people out there are hard gainers. Building muscle is ridiculously hard to do, especially if you're not genetically inclined for it or just a big person to begin with. Sometimes I used to know a guy by the name of Tony. He's like, oh yeah, I built 20 pounds of muscle within a few months of training. It's like, yeah, you're 6'5" and built brick shit house. Of course you're building muscle like that. But you get someone who's 5'7" and skinny as a rail, it's just going to be harder because of their body type. But nonetheless, we have this expectation. And that can be very, very detrimental because when we have unmet expectations, that's when we feel vulnerable for the program hopping, for adopting extreme diet and exercise habits, for adopting certain types of behaviors that are hard to maintain and very stressful on mind, body, and lifestyle. And anything that's hard to maintain is just simply going to be harder to build and maintain muscle. So we want to kind of just temper down our expectations a little bit. I'm not doing this to frustrate you. But when people come to me and they say, oh, it's been 3 months, I haven't really seen a whole lot in my physique. It's like, yeah, that's pretty normal. That's pretty average for the course. I built about 10 pounds of muscle or so in the first year of my training. And even then, that was extreme because I went from trying to be skinny as hell in college to going the opposite end. So if we have a little bit of a lowered or more of a realistic expectation that it's going to be harder, that it's going to be slower than before, that at least leaves us less vulnerable to going off the deep end with habits that, ironically enough, make it even harder for the consistency and the progress we need in order to build up our physique. So don't involve any unnecessary dietary restrictions if it's So don't have any dietary restrictions that aren't necessary. I'm just going to make it harder to satisfy your appetites, and have a good realistic expectation. Kind of sitting back saying, I'm going to build it as fast as I build it. Sometimes it's going to come quicker and easier. Sometimes it's going to be slower and harder, or maybe not happening at all. It's all part of the plan, and it happens to everybody. Thank you very much for watching. More videos here. Hit the likes and shares if you can. I really do sincerely appreciate it, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Be fit and live free.